you are ignoring the biggest investor in your life. And I can prove it with one single painful sentence. Every 2 weeks, a massive entity deposits thousands of dollars into your bank account, expecting nothing in return except your time and a few spreadsheets. And you are treating them like a dumb ATM instead of what they actually are. A venture capital firm that is desperately trying to make you rich. My name is Max, and I have spent the last decade watching intelligent people stumble backward into poverty while thinking they were just showing up to work. The math of employment is so obvious, so glaringly simple, that it is almost insulting that nobody taught us this in school. Yet, 90% of the workforce misses it completely. They are sitting on top of a literal money-printing machine, complaining that they can't get ahead while leaving millions of dollars on the table over the course of their careers. Your employer isn't just paying you a salary. That is the amateur view. The professional view is that they are operating as a private equity firm, with you as the portfolio company. They are offering you investment terms that would make any Silicon Valley founder weep with envy. Guaranteed returns, tax shelters, free capital grants. But unlike those founders who actually read the term sheet, you are signing documents during onboarding while thinking about where to eat lunch. Let's start with the most brazen example of free money you are likely ignoring right now, the 401k match. Your company says they will give you $1 for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your salary. Do you understand what that is? That is a guaranteed 100% return on investment the exact second the money hits your account. Find me a hedge fund manager who can promise that. You can't, because that person doesn't exist. If Bernie Madoff promised 50% returns, he went to prison. Your HR department is offering you 100% returns, legal and guaranteed, and yet roughly 1/3 of eligible employees don't contribute enough to get the full match. The logic is backwards. It is financial insanity. You are refusing a capital injection from an investor who is trying to fund your escape plan. Let me put it in business terms. Imagine you start a lemonade stand. You would sign that deal so fast, the pen would catch fire. That is what the 401k match is, and you are ghosting the investor. You are walking past the free inventory to buy lemons at full price. But it gets better, or worse, depending on whether you've been paying attention. Let's talk about the Health Savings Account, the HSA. This is possibly the greatest legal tax loophole in the American financial system, and almost nobody uses it correctly. Money goes in pre-tax. It grows tax-free. And if you use it for medical expenses, it comes out tax-free. That is the triple crown of tax avoidance. Most people treat their HSA like a checking account for Band-Aids and co-pays. They put money in, and then they spend it immediately on a doctor's visit. That is using a Ferrari to drive to the mailbox. The actual strategy, the strategy the wealthy use, is to max out the HSA contribution and then never touch the money. Pay for your medical expenses out of pocket if you can. Let that account grow. Invest it in the S&P 500. Let it compound for 30 years. Then, in retirement, you have a massive pile of tax-free money sitting there to cover your healthcare costs, while everyone else is paying taxes on their traditional retirement accounts. You have just built yourself a tax shelter using company benefits, and you did it on their dime. And we haven't even talked about education reimbursement yet. A shocking number of companies will pay thousands of dollars per year for you to learn new skills, get certifications, or even complete degree programs. But here is the secret they don't tell you. Those skills are portable. You can take that company-funded education and leverage it anywhere. You can take the certification they paid for and use it to get a higher salary at their competitor. Your employer is offering you grants, and you aren't even filling out the application. Think about it this way. If you work for a company that offers $5,000 in annual education benefits and you don't use it, you have effectively voluntarily lowered your own compensation package by $5,000. Do that for 5 years and you have missed out on $25,000 in free skill development. That isn't a rounding error. That is a down payment on a rental property that you didn't save. Now, let's zoom out, because the literal benefits, the match, the HSA, the tuition, are just the foundation. The real revelation, the red pill moment, is understanding what your salary actually represents in the broader investment thesis of your life. Every successful business needs initial capital to start generating returns. Real estate investors need down payments. Index fund investors need principal to compound. Entrepreneurs need runway to build the product. Where does that capital come from? For most people, it comes from their salary. Your 9-to-5 isn't the trap. Your 9-to-5 is the angel investor. When you reframe it this way, everything shifts. You stop seeing your job as this soul-crushing obligation and start seeing it as a strategic partnership. They are funding your real wealth-building activities. The salary they pay you on Friday is the same money that buys your rental property or your Vanguard shares on Monday. They are a capital partner, whether they realize it or not. Those people usually crash and burn. The winners are the ones who exploit their jobs strategically. They maximize every benefit, extract every dollar of match, claim every reimbursement, and then deploy that capital into actual wealth-generating assets. But most people do the opposite. They see the salary as spending money. They ignore the benefits because reading the paperwork is boring. And then they wonder why they aren't building wealth while working full-time. You are running a business that is refusing investment capital and rejecting grants. Of course, you are broke. Here is the problem, though. Most people treat their employer like an ATM instead of a venture capital firm. They show up, extract the base salary to pay for groceries and Netflix, and completely ignore the cap table. Let me show you what I mean with some actual numbers, because this is where it gets absurd. The average employer contribution to benefits is worth roughly 30% of your base salary. If you make $70,000, there is another $21,000 sitting in various benefit buckets waiting for you. Most of that is health insurance, sure, but buried in there is retirement matching, HSA contributions, life insurance, disability coverage, and professional development funds. The question is, are you capturing all of it? Let's run a scenario. You make $80,000. Your company offers a 6% 401k match. That is $4,800 of free money annually. They also offer an HSA with a $1,000 employer contribution. They've got a $3,500 annual education benefit that nobody uses. Add that up. You are looking at nearly $10,000 in available capital that most people partially claim or ignore entirely. Over a 30-year career, even without investment growth, that is nearly $300,000 of capital you left behind. With compound growth at 7%, you are looking at close to $1 million in foregone wealth. $1 million because you didn't read the benefits portal PDF. Now, here is where it gets even more interesting. We have been talking about the explicit benefits, the line items on your pay stub. Your employer has infrastructure. They have software licenses. They have professional networks. They have training programs. They have institutional knowledge. Every single one of those resources can be leveraged to build your personal capital, and they are basically begging you to use them. Take software access. If you work for any decent-sized company, you probably have access to tools that would cost you thousands per year as an individual. Project management software, design tools, data analytics platforms, coding environments. Learn them, master them. That isn't just making you better at your current job. That is building a portable skill set that increases your market value everywhere. Same thing with professional networks. Your company probably sends people to conferences, industry events, training sessions. Every person you meet is a potential future client, partner, or employer. You are networking on company time with a company credit card. That is a grant-funded business development program for your future consulting firm. And let's talk about time arbitrage because this is delicious. Most salaried jobs have built-in inefficiency. Meetings that could be emails, bureaucratic processes, dead time between projects. The amateur watches YouTube or scrolls TikTok during those gaps. The professional uses that time to build. You can research investment opportunities. You can take online courses. You can plan your side business. You can develop new skills. You are being paid to invest in yourself, and nobody is tracking it because you are delivering on your actual responsibilities. I am not advocating for time theft or being lazy. I am advocating for time optimization. If you can complete your job responsibilities in 35 hours, but you are paid for 40, those 5 hours are an arbitrage opportunity. Deploy them strategically. But the deepest level of this whole framework is understanding what salary actually purchases beyond just the money. Your job buys you 3 things that are way more valuable than people realize: credibility, stability, and optionality. Credibility first. When you are employed, especially at a recognizable company, you have institutional validation. Banks give you mortgages. Landlords approve your applications. Credit cards offer you limits. You can make large purchases and investments that would be impossible as an unemployed person, even if you had the same amount of cash in the bank. Employment is a signal that unlocks doors in the financial system. Use it while you have it. Get the mortgage while you have the W-2. Stability creates runway. When you have a predictable paycheck hitting every 2 weeks, you can take calculated risks with your invested capital. You can buy rental properties with leverage because you can prove income for the mortgage. You can invest aggressively in the stock market because you aren't depending on those assets for immediate survival. You can start a business on the side because your living expenses are covered. The salary isn't the wealth. The salary is the safety net that lets you build wealth without fear. And optionality might be the most underrated benefit of all. Every year you stay employed and keep investing, you are buying yourself choices. The choice to take a sabbatical, the choice to switch careers, the choice to go part-time, the choice to walk away from a toxic situation because your investments can cover your expenses. Most people think freedom comes from escaping the 9-to-5. That is backwards. Freedom comes from using the 9-to-5 to build enough assets that the 9-to-5 becomes optional. They want the exit before they have executed the strategy. That isn't freedom. That is just unemployment with better marketing. The smart play is completely different. You stay in the game. You extract maximum value from every benefit, every match, every grant. You deploy your salary into income-producing assets. You build skills on company time. You leverage company resources to increase your market value. And you do this while maintaining the credibility and stability that make aggressive wealth building possible. You aren't working for them. They are working for you. They just don't know it yet. This isn't abstract strategy. Let me show you what this looks like when you actually execute it. Because the difference between knowing this and doing this is the difference between theory and a 7-figure net worth. Year 1, you are making $65,000. You are maxing out that 401k match. You are stuffing the HSA. You are claiming the tuition reimbursement for a certification that makes you more valuable. You aren't spending the salary. You are spending what's left after you have ravaged every benefit. That first year, you might only bank $4,000 in actual savings beyond the retirement accounts. It feels small. It feels insignificant. But you have actually moved $15,000 into tax-advantaged accounts and skill development. You are building infrastructure. Year 3, you got promoted because you used that certification you got for free. Now you are at 80,000. You kept your lifestyle basically flat. Yeah, maybe you upgraded your phone and bought a nicer mattress because sleep matters. But you didn't move to the luxury apartment. You didn't finance the Tesla. That discipline created a gap. Now you are saving $12,000 a year in taxable accounts on top of maxing retirement. You aren't rich, but you are liquid. And liquidity is the raw material of opportunity. But here is the trap most people fall into at this stage. They let that extra income blend into their main checking account. You need to treat that raise like a completely separate entity. The moment it hits, transfer it. Don't let it touch your checking account. Don't let it mingle with your grocery money. The second you allow fusion, it evaporates. Automation is the difference between people who build wealth and people who just talk about it. Year 5, you have been watching the real estate market in your area. A small condo hits the market during a downturn. You put down 20%. You finance the rest at a low rate because your employment makes you highly creditworthy to the bank. You rent it out. The rent covers the mortgage plus $100. You just bought an asset using the credibility your job provided, and it is paying for itself. Your job didn't buy that property. Your job made buying that property possible. Year 7. The condo appreciated. You have been making extra payments with your raises while keeping your lifestyle in check. You have $80,000 in equity. Now you take out a home equity line of credit against it and buy a second property. Now you have 2 rentals. Your W-2 income is still your stability, but your net worth is starting to compound independently. The salary is the fuel. The assets are the engine. Every time you switch employers, you are essentially closing one investment round and opening another with better terms. You are negotiating a new valuation for you, Inc. The people who stay at one company for 20 years out of loyalty are leaving millions on the table. Not because their employer is evil, but because they aren't forcing a renegotiation of terms. When you switch, you reset the cap table. You get a signing bonus. That is a capital injection. You get a salary bump. That is more runway. By year 10, you haven't just saved money. You have actively traded up to investors who offer better liquidity. Year 10. Your 401k has been growing at 7% annually, with consistent contributions and the match. It is sitting at over $200,000. Your HSA, which you have been maxing and never touching, is at $45,000. You have 3 rental properties generating $1,800 a month in positive cash flow after expenses. Your taxable brokerage account has $120,000 in index funds. Your total net worth just crossed $600,000. You are still working the same job, or maybe you switched companies for a raise and better benefits. But here is the thing. You aren't dependent on the job anymore. You are leveraging it. This is when the psychology flips. Most people at this stage feel trapped by their lifestyle. You feel liberated by your assets. If your boss is unreasonable, you can walk. If a better opportunity appears in a different city, you can take it because your rental properties are managed and your investments are portable. You aren't chained to the paycheck. You are optimizing the paycheck. Fair. So, let's run those numbers. $45,000 salary. After taxes, maybe $34,000 take home. If your company offers a 401k match, even a 3% match, that is $1,350 of free money annually. If they offer an HSA-eligible health plan, you can contribute the minimum to get the tax deduction. Let's say you save $2,000 a year in taxes through strategic benefit use. That is over $3,000 you didn't have before you understood the system. It isn't retirement next year, but it is the foundation. The game scales to your income level. The principles don't change. You are still extracting maximum value from benefits. You are still keeping lifestyle inflation under control. You are still building liquidity. The timeline stretches, sure, but the math works at every income level because the math is about percentages and discipline, not absolute numbers. And here is what nobody tells you about this path. It gets easier, exponentially easier. The first 50,000 is a grind. It feels impossible. The second 50 comes faster because your assets are working alongside you. The third 50 feels almost automatic because compounding is doing the heavy lifting. By the time you hit $500,000 in net worth, your investments are generating more annual growth than you are contributing from your salary. You have hit escape velocity. The job is still useful for benefits and credibility, but it is no longer the primary driver of your wealth. That is the end game. Not quitting your job in some dramatic walkout scene from a movie. Not retiring at 35 to live in a van and sell bracelets. The end game is reaching a point where your job serves you instead of you serving it. Where employment is a strategic choice, not a survival requirement. You are the person who shows up because the benefits are valuable and the work is interesting, not because you will be homeless without the paycheck. Your employer thinks they own your time. Let them think that. Meanwhile, you are running a parallel operation where their salary funds, your equity, their benefits build your safety net, and their credibility opens doors they will never walk through. You aren't their employee. You are an investor extracting maximum return from a corporate partnership. The real scam isn't that jobs underpay you. The real scam is that most people never realize their job is the best investor they will ever have, offering free capital, tax advantages, and institutional backing. And they walk away from it chasing a freedom they haven't funded yet. Don't be most people. Extract everything. Build quietly, and leave when the math says you can, not when your feelings tell you to.